What is up, guys? Rick Cactus here, and today it's finally happening. We have some official Borderlands news to talk about. Now, I had to jump on this. I had to make a video on this because this came out yesterday. However, I was grinding the Thorn quest all day, and then YouTube itself literally broke. Like, myself and a bunch of other creators' videos were stuck at 0% processing for over 4 hours. That's why my guide for how to get the Thorn easily was delayed so long. So if you are wondering where that guide is, it's out. Just check it out. But something else happened yesterday, as I've been alluding to, and that is the official Gearbox Twitter tweeted out this image. March 28th, Boston, Massachusetts, something's happening. Now, there's some things going on here. Obviously, the first thing that's going to catch your eye is that it's a very Borderlands style background. In fact, this looks like it's right out of, just right outside of the arid Badlands, right outside of Firestone is what I'm trying to say. And we've got the classic desert background. Even that cactus, that's a classic Borderlands cactus. You're going to find those all over the place. Rick Cactus has talked about cactuses, of course. But also, you've got the cell shading, everything. It's so undeniably Borderlands. So that means something Borderlands is happening March 28th in Boston, Massachusetts. Now, what actually is going to happen? Well, this is pretty clearly something that is happening a lot lately with media companies. This is an announcement for an announcement, like how you see trailers, or I guess teasers for trailers. Like, you get a little teaser and then it says, oh, the Avengers Endgame trailer is coming out on this day. This is exactly what this is. This date is getting eyes on this upcoming date of March 28th and saying that something Borderlands is dropping then. And of course, from Gearbox Official, this is no leak. This is 100% happening. Now, what Borderlands is happening? Because the number one thing everyone kind of rushed to is, well, Borderlands 3, and I really hope it is. But there are a couple of other possibilities. So, interestingly enough, there's actually been some leaks going on, and there's some evidence that it might not be at least all Borderlands 3. Now, here's exactly what I'm talking about. Firstly, there's actually a little bit of evidence that Borderlands 1 might be getting remastered for current gen systems. Borderlands Game of the Year Edition Remaster for Xbox One, PlayStation 4, and PC, developed by Blind Squirrel Games, was listed on a Korean ratings board before being taken down. And we've sometimes seen this with games before, because there's so many moving parts in terms of getting a game rated, putting it up on all these different websites, like all over the place. We have seen leaks for, Destiny 2, all this stuff on obscure websites and foreign versions of big websites. Like, sometimes Walmart France will release something early by accident, then it's taken down very quickly. So this is something that does happen. It's also quite frequently faked when this does happen as well, but it's also sometimes legitimate. But there is, again, a little bit of evidence that that might be coming. Now, this is where things get really interesting. There's also evidence that a new DLC might be coming to Borderlands 2 and or the pre-sequel. Now, this is coming from up to about 3 months ago. Both of these games, Borderlands 2 and the pre-sequel, on Steam were getting their Steam database pages updated with stuff like, a bunch of numbers, 941171, Manakana content, no English size, encrypted DLC, 941170. Like, that's reading out one of the weird files, right? But it mentions DLC, and it's something showcasing that Gearbox is going in and updating the database of these games, which are super old. Borderlands 2 came out in 2012, and the fans have been patiently waiting for Borderlands 3, myself included, ever since. But, this is pretty interesting that, again, 3 months ago, they're updating the database. Why? Now, could be a new DLC, and that would certainly build up the hype again. A new DLC dropping for Borderlands 2, especially because Borderlands 2 still has such an immense fan base. There's still Borderlands YouTube channels, there's still Borderlands streams pulling numbers you would never imagine for a game released in 2012. It's honestly insane. But, of course, again, releasing that DLC would really hype up the community. It would get people back into the game. It would really appease the loyal fan base and give people something to bridge the gap for when Borderlands 3 comes out. Because, of course, this date that we got, this is not the release date of Borderlands 3. This is the announcement date of Borderlands 3, if it is coming at all. So, again, we could get both. This is not necessarily the announcement date for a Borderlands 2 DLC. It might be Borderlands 3 announcement and also a new DLC for Borderlands 2 and also remastering Borderlands 1. We often do see that with certain games that have been, especially games like Borderlands that have not been around for years and years and years. We have a big announcement day and several things are happening for several titles in this franchise. But why, with this evidence for Borderlands Game of the Year edition and the Borderlands 2 and potentially pre-sequel DLCs, why are people instantly going to Borderlands 3? Aside from the fact that it's just been a long time from when Borderlands 2 came out. Is there really any evidence that indicates that this is 3 and we're not just being bamboozled by something I would think a lot of people would view as not as important? Well, yes, actually, because in the image up at the very top corner, you can see exit and then 3. It's cut out, but it's clearly a 3. And these things are very intentional. Probably took them weeks to approve this image for being this huge announcement. So there's no way that accidentally snuck in and the exit 3 has no meaning. Clearly, something 3, and the only thing 3 happening is Borderlands 3 is involved with this date. So awesome. After nearly a decade of waiting, we are finally going to get the official announcement, probably, of Borderlands 3. Now, what is that game going to look like? Well, there's actually been some leaks that have come out about the characters that may be involved in Borderlands 3, so let's go over them. There's 4 classes that were leaked because of this image right here. So we have, firstly, the soldier/gunner class, Mose, and he's the bot Jock. This class apparently is very robot focused and can call down a robot you can get in, like in Titanfall. In fact, we see some evidence that this was being thought of potentially from the pre-sequel, like this robot here, something that you can get in and that you can man. Now, in the game, apparently, you're going to be able to call one of these down and get in yourself. Now, it might not look exactly like that. That was just maybe the precursor for this idea. Apparently, someone from your party can actually hop in your turret of your called down robot and help you out, which is another super cool thing. Now, the next class is the Siren class, Amara. What's going on here is that apparently she is a melee focused class, somewhat similar to like a Brick from Borderlands 1, and she does still have the phase lock ability that can hold up enemies in mid-air. Moving on from there, the Assassin class, Zane the Operative. Now, this is apparently kind of similar to Zero from Borderlands 2, can throw a decoy yet again to draw enemies to look at that decoy instead of attacking you. And that's really all that's known so far about that guy. Then, interestingly, we have the Hunter class, Flak, which is the Beastmaster. Now, this is apparently going to be the pet class of Borderlands, so you can choose between 3 different pets, and each of those pets have different abilities. So, for example, if you choose an eagle, it's going to have certain abilities, and then if you choose a wolf, it's going to have certain abilities. Now, of course, you're going to have probably a lot different than those 2 things because it's Borderlands is wild, and that's kind of all that's really known about that guy. Now, what is going on with the story? Because at the end of Borderlands 2, it left off with, what can only be described as a cliffhanger almost for Borderlands 3. It was like the easiest transition. That's why people have been talking about Borderlands 3 for years and years and years, because at the end of Borderlands 2, it showed like you're at Pandora hunting for this vault. You're always hunting for vaults. And then it showed all of this solar system and all these different planets, and all of them had vaults, like vault here, vault here, vault here. And so they're saying, wow, like, we're going to have to go explore here. So this idea of border worlds kind of has been floating around for a long time. Well, apparently, sources are saying that right now there's going to be 4 different planets in Borderlands 3. So unlike Pandora, where some of it is ice and another part is desert, another part is kind of has plants or whatever, in Borderlands 3 you have more of an ice planet, a jungle planet, that type of thing, to differentiate the different environments of the game. And also they're going to have unique aliens and animals and stuff living on each of these different planets. Now, in terms also of the storyline, I don't want to necessarily spoil anything here, but really interestingly, and this isn't a leak really, this is an official source, because an Easter egg in Battleborn, also developed by Gearbox, read such that, and this has been decoded, it was originally Morse code, but it says, "Visit Promethea, children of the vault, we are not on Pandora anymore. Tannis is not what she seems. Do not open the vaults." Woo! Woo! That's really interesting there, actually, that the vaults have a more sinister design than just being chocked full of awesome loot, I guess. And I mean, Borderlands 1, the ending of Borderlands 1 was kind of actually proving that point as well. Now, a couple more interesting things about Borderlands 3, and remember, these are all leaks, these are not necessarily confirmed, but the elements are reportedly shock, corrosive, incendiary, explosive, slag, cryo from Borderlands the pre-sequel. That's going to make a return in Borderlands 3, but also nuclear, and nuclear will be a new type that is focused on damaging armored enemies more. Now, how is that going to fare compared with corrosive? Not really sure. Also, in terms of weapons, there's been a lot of rumors about melee weapons, swords, axes, whatever, and melee weapons, and of course, thrown into the Borderlands style of random gun system where you have all these crazy types of swords and all that stuff with crazy abilities and perks and stuff. That would be super cool. And also, apparently, there's even more parts that are used to customize weapons. If you're really into Borderlands, you'll know that when a weapon spawns, it has an assortment of different parts. So you can have a Jacob's receiver or a Vladoff barrel, etc. And those are going to come with different attributes towards the gun. So if a gun has more Vladoff parts, it has a higher fire rate, for example. Certain things, if they have a Jacob's sight, they'll do more damage or whatever. So even more parts is going to make even more possibilities for weapons in Borderlands 3 and increase the variety even more so, which is insane to think about because the variety of the gun types in Borderlands 1 and 2 were some of the best ever of a looter shooter. So increasing that even more, that's got me excited. And so guys, that's all I wanted to talk about today. The main thing is, if you're a Borderlands fan, hope is here. March 28th, something Borderlands is happening. I hope it's the trifecta. I hope it's Borderlands 1 remastered, Borderlands 2, and Borderlands pre-sequel DLCs, and then Borderlands 3 officially announced, and maybe even we get a release date for it as well. I will be a happy camper if that happened. Hope you enjoyed the video and found it interesting. If you did, please remember to help me out by simply rating and especially sharing this video. If you guys want to see more Borderlands 3 content down the road, be sure to subscribe. Now, if you guys want to get in touch with me and keep up to date with the latest channel activity, the best way is to follow me on Twitter at RickCacus. That's linked in the description down below. Again, I hope you enjoyed the video, and as always, have a good day.